Across the highlands of Tibet lies a history far more complex than the maps we inherit. Tibet and the Qing Empire were connected across Asia, but never merged into a single political state. The relationship was called suzerainty, symbolic influence and oversight without absolute sovereignty or direct rule. To Beijing, Tibet served as a distant strategic frontier, not a directly governed imperial province. To Tibet, the bond was spiritual and diplomatic, rooted deeply in mutual recognition and sacred respect. This was the Choyan system, imperial protection from the emperor, spiritual legitimacy from the Lama in return. Inside bustling Lhasa, governance remained firmly controlled by Tibetan officials and ministers alone. Qing Ambans observed events quietly in Tibet, but rarely ruled directly over internal affairs. Major political decisions were debated by Tibetan ministers, not dictated or enforced directly from Beijing. Tibet maintained its own military forces to guard and defend the rugged mountain kingdom. It even minted its own silver currency, a powerful symbol of economic independence and authority. In practice, Qing influence resembled a loose diplomatic relationship, not true sovereign political control over Tibet. Tibet's distinct political status became clearest on the international stage and in foreign affairs. When conflicts erupted across Himalayan passes, Tibet negotiated treaties and fought battles on its own. In 1856, Tibet signed the Treaty of Thapathali directly with Nepal, without Qing intervention or approval. Trade across snowy Himalayan routes flowed through agreements negotiated directly by the government in Lhasa. Soon, the expanding British Empire turned its strategic attention toward Tibet's isolated northern frontier. British officials, with frustration mounting over Beijing's limited influence in Tibet, bypassed Qing and turned to Lhasa. In 1904, the Young Husband expedition marched across Tibet demanding direct talks and formal negotiations. The Lhasa Convention was signed directly with Tibetan leaders, not through the Qing imperial court. Borders and trade rights were negotiated carefully as matters between two separate and distinct governments. In 1913, Tibet and Mongolia formally recognized each other's independence through historic diplomatic agreement. These were the actions of a sovereign state exercising authority far beyond its own borders. When diplomacy mattered most, Tibet consistently acted independently and spoke firmly in its own name. In 1911, revolution and chaos shattered the Qing Dynasty and the old imperial order forever. With the emperor's abdication, Qing suzerainty lost its remaining political and legal foundation entirely. The symbolic bond between Tibet and the Qing court was finally broken beyond repair forever. Soon after, the remaining Qing officials and troops peacefully departed from the sacred city of Lhasa. The 13th Dalai Lama returned triumphantly to a Tibet already functioning and governing on its own. In early 1913, Tibet formally proclaimed its complete political independence before the watching world. Tibet established its own post offices, communication networks, and independent government as it modernized steadily over 4 decades. It issued passports, managed borders, and operated its own institutions without outside administration or foreign control. In international law, collapsing empires do not automatically inherit sovereignty over former dependent territories forever. Equating Qing influence with permanent ownership oversimplifies a far more delicate and deeply complicated historical reality. The historical record reveals a nation that governed, negotiated, and endured independently through changing regional empires. To understand Tibet's past, one must look beyond rhetoric, and carefully examine the historical record itself.